Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Alexander Senki, or as it's also known, Reign the Conqueror. And in some other regions, they just call it Alexander the Great. For example, I think that's what they called it in Italy, in Italian. So I guess what I think it's about, it's sort of about the life and works of Alexander the Great. I think you kind of need to have some background information, know a little bit about Alexander before you start to watch it, honestly. Because I didn't feel like it gave you all the details, and there's a lot of characters who show up from history, who don't get a lot of characterization, but I think it's partly because they're like famous people like Diogenes to Aristotle or whatever, and they kind of assume that you know a little bit about Alexander. I guess in that way, it's a little bit similar to Fate's Stay Night, which also has a very different interpretation of Alexander's character as well, if you have watched that. I guess the most notable thing which you won't fail to notice as soon as you watch it is the art style. So why don't you discuss a little bit about that, Albania man?
Well, I'll say this. When it comes to how the characters look, they're kind of hideous, but when it comes to the actual buildings and architecture, it's amazing.
I
So
love how the characters look in this anime, to be honest. I very much enjoy how Alexander looks with his deep red lips. His oddly, um, I'm not quite sure that the word effeminate is accurate because he is very well built, but he is oddly slim for a warrior of Macedon, who are not usually depicted to be so um, feline or serpentine.
yeah, I
I don't
think
know
I
if
think
you.
I think that the right term would probably be like an androgynous, maybe.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of look all androgynous with the exception of Philip II. And some of the characters, one particular, I forgot its Claudius's father. He looks like a very fat old man, and the quote unquote Indians, which look like fucking orcs.
Yeah, the Brahmins. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I don't think, and also like all the characters are kind of, I don't know much about the history, but I don't think, like for example, Alexander doesn't have any padding on his legs when he goes into battle or really at any time. He doesn't have any pants really, and that goes for most other characters as well. I think both male and female. Um, so
Pants are a barbarian invention, don't you know?
yeah, and yeah, I know that the Romans didn't wear pants because of that apparently, or trousers. I don't know, but so the person to, I don't know, blame credit for this is the character designer Peter Chung, who's more well known for the animated series Aeon Flux. So this is a bit of like a mixed production with some Americans, some Koreans. I think it's actually directed by a Japanese director in the end. Like most of the names in the credits are like Japanese names, so I would count it as an anime. But Albania man, I think you said earlier that you almost felt like this wasn't an anime. Can you like explain why you felt that way?
Uh, it's more or less I wouldn't say it's just the art style, it's more or less how the show is presented. It feels very Western.
Can you think of any examples?
Well, it's just how the intro is structured, how I guess how the characters speak, how it's presented. It doesn't feel like at least any anime that I'm aware of.
I honestly kind of agree with Albanian man. Everything from like the cosmological to the political to the geographical does not really it doesn't really represent the anime of its era. It is definitely a unique take. I wouldn't call it a comic book or anything like that. But the visual coding, is not representative of the way anime usually presents information.
Yeah, I think so. This anime is actually like an adaptation of a novel by an author called Hiroshi Aramata, and so a lot of anime adaptations are like light novel adaptations, but I think that this is more like this is like a normal novel, basically getting adapted. And I looked a bit into the author. He seems to be like into history and into like sci-fi. Um, that's a fantasy type of things, but not necessarily uh, anime. Unfortunately, I don't think that the novel is translated. There's also apparently like a manga adaptation, but I couldn't find anything about it other than like there's an entry for it on manga dates, for example. Um,
Hiroshi Aramata is also the popular and well-known author of Teito Monogatari, also known as Legends of the Capital, which is about an onimyoji who seeks revenge upon the Japanese capital of Tokyo. He's basically sort of like the last sorcerer of his kind. It's a very interesting esoteric look at Japanese history.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like when it comes to anime, um, like a lot of the times, like it does sometimes feel like it all like it's all like related to each other. So this is like something coming out of from outside of the anime culture, even if it's um, from a Japanese author. And I guess the designs by Peter Chung, who is a Korean American, also help. Has either of you like actually watched Aeon Flux?
I have watched it for a long time ago. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember it being very surreal, like sort of akin to Alexander Senki, actually. Only it's more, I guess you would say, it's dystopian, sort of.
I
Yeah.
have watched it for the last time, I think over 6 years ago now. It was definitely a trip.
Okay. So, sounds like it was even more out there than Alexander Senki, because you can.
I'm not completely sure. It does sort of deal with things like the purpose of states, the purpose of freedom, the purpose of rights, the purpose of the end, eschatological visions. Mm, but it's not the same. It deals with humanity in a different manner.
Because I don't know like what to recommend to someone who liked Alexander Senki. Like I've seen people recommend Legend of the Galactic Heroes a lot, but I feel like it's a lot more different than that. Like you don't get that
Mm,
much
It's
detail
entirely
about
different.
battles.
I would say if I would have to say, it's going to be one of two things. One is definitely going to be Evangelion. The other one will be, I think it would be, not necessarily, no, not Wicked City, but I would say Paprika, Perfect Blue. Even if it
Legend of the
was,
Galactic Heroes deals with a Toynbee-esque cyclical view of history and of heroes. It is not really something like Alexander Senki, which is about the finality of the world based on the axial age. It is pretty different. It is not a coincidence that Pythagoras and Zoroaster and the Brahmin at the end of the anime are the same character.
Yeah. I mean, they're all trying to try to kill Alexander because of a prophecy that when he was born, that um, he would destroy the world, and for some reason, his mother, Alexander's mother, Olympias, she wants him to destroy the world. Um,
Well, of course, that way she will be the mother of the one who gave birth to the new world. So, by proxy, she has given birth to a new humanity. The very word world is a compound word of the English words were and eld. That is to say, the age of man. So, this age has become convoluted, and Alexander must usher in a new age, which he does historically and in the anime.
yeah, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but basically, you shouldn't be watching us if you're worried about spoilers. But turns out that um, he wasn't like literally going to destroy the world. He was like going to destroy the current world order and usher in a new one, um, basically. But
which, yeah, did happen historically. The anime just takes it into a very, I guess, metaphysical level.
yeah, it did kind of feel a little bit disappointing that basically like all of the the assassination attempts and all that they did was just because like um, all these different groups like misinterpreted the prophecy. Um, what um, what what was the Plato Hadron about?
From what I understood, sort of Plato Hedron was basically all the knowledge and basically the functions of the universe. Sort of akin to how, well, in alchemy and Eastern philosophy, there's four elements: earth, wind, water, and earth, fire, water, and wind. And this is kind of like, oh, these are the fundamental elements of the universe.
Yeah, because there's this subplot with Aristotle looking for this Plato Hadron, um, which I guess it's some kind of a three-dimensional o- object thing. Um, and at the end, you can't like it's actually like a physical object, or is it a concept? It's not entirely clear. Um,
I would say it's a bit, well, I would say it's a bit of both, but it's more or less a concept rather than a physical object because, well, with this anime, not everything is, I guess you would say it's literal. It's very, I guess you would say, kind of subtext and very metaphorical in a lot of instances.
what did you think of the way that the battles were portrayed?
I think the battles were portrayed fine, but I, to be honest, that was not really
They appear to be more symbolic than
Yes, very
containing
symbolic.
any tactical or strategic, you know, inventions where we can like follow the events and logically deduce what why one of the armies is winning and the other not. It appeared that because Alexander was on the side of the Macedonian army, that is why they continuously won, even when supposedly his even in the beginning his father Philip is already a master strategist, but he somehow cannot like achieve victory without his son, who claims that the Macedonian army is too slow, whatever
Yeah, I
that
mean,
means.
exactly, because the only like kind of strategy which they talk about is, or the reason for Alexander's superiority is his speed, basically. That's all they say. Um,
And speed is power.
yes. Did you like, what did you think of, I guess, the presentation of Alexander's motivations? Because I've seen some people complain about how they felt like, I don't know, Alexander was kind of aloof, not talking much about like his ambitions or his motivations. What do you think in this anime? Why do you like? Was it just like possessed by something, or did he have like a? What do you think the motivation was here?
Well, I think his main motivation was to understand the whole world. I think part of the reason why he insisted to go forward is just to see, okay, what is the world like? I'm curious, what is the edge of the so-called flat Earth? See what is beyond it. There's also a mixture of the fact, well, he wants a. He's also very ambitious and wants power, which is why he has the all naming cities after himself as well.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
is
like,
difficult to ascertain the ambition the man, whatever ambition the man has, because his becoming is a prophesized event, and that prophecy must lead him to becoming something. So there is a type of destiny involved, in spite of whatever ambitions he may have had. There is a deterministic outcome that he must fulfill, and to me, it appeared like he was only seeking how to fulfill that determinism. That would make him a very interesting contrast to other characters of these type of action anime, which usually go against predetermined events.
mm, I guess that's also like, but I don't think he was like, so there's the prophecy that he was going to destroy the world, but I don't think that he thought that he was going to destroy the world, because obviously it turns out at the end that, oh, they had like misunderstood the prophecy. He wasn't actually going to destroy the world. So maybe it was more like, I think he thought that he was going against the prophecy, um, but then he wasn't, which I guess is pretty deterministic. Uh,
Pythagoras, Pythagoras doesn't say that Alexander will not destroy the world. He even says to Alexander that he will not stand in his way when Alexander asks him if he would. Obviously, the eschatological implications are different from an exact decoupling of the physical state of the material universe. It probably has something to do with the Platohedron, but honestly, I do not really comprehend that plot point, and it appeared more to function as a MacGuffin and not so much, you know, a complex ontological and epistemological function of either Alexander's actions or the actions of any other character. You
Mm,
think that Darius would be more motivated to contain his imperium, and he would, use whatever means at his disposal. And by that I mean whatever possible justification he can come up with, including theological, to oppose Alexander. But none is really given. It looks like it's only, like a political game to him. And I do not think that a man of Darius the Third's caliber, even though he does also lose in the actual world, would be so, um, let's say, one-dimensional. Although he didn't really come across as one-dimensional.
Yeah, I don't think we saw enough. Sorry, what were you going to say, Albanian?
oh, I was gonna say it's well, I guess for the Plato Plato-hedron, I think it's more akin to Plato's ideas, because it's Plato has been in the anime itself. Plato is introduced a few times, and most of it is just saying, "Oh, Aristotle, I don't. You are looking at it from a completely different, wrong point of view. Here's my point of view." I think that's what the Plato-hedron is supposed to communicate, because
Okay,
it.
but what does it contain other than like the different points of view? Because Plato has things to say about righteousness, about justice, about the role of the state, the role of people, the role of the laws, the role of gods. You know, obviously this has something to do with Plato's idea of an ideal ruler and an ideal state, or something like that. Even though it's not really expanded upon, and even Aristotle only touches upon this in the very first episode or the first two episodes.
I think so. They kind of try to explain it when when Aristotle meets Diogenes inside inside the battle, which turns out to be like a different dimension, pocket dimension sort of deal. Um, and but they don't exactly clarify. They just say that Alexander, you know,
Alexander is the sun.
that Alexander can bring back the Plato-hedron which Diogenes had thrown into the world somewhere. But
Yes, that is to say, he can restore the true knowledge back into the world. That is a scene almost directly lifted out of the Alexandrian romance, where Alexander meets Diogenes, the dog, also known as the insane Socrates. And we actually do have an exchange that is verbatim taken from that romance, and you guys probably already knew it. It's uh, "Oh, I am Alexander. Whatever you ask of me, I will give unto you." And Diogenes says, "In that case, please step aside. You're blocking my sunshine." And this is a very important sentence because it forms the beginning of a chiastic structure, because that sentence is referenced in the end of the anime before Alexander goes on his latest conquest towards Arabia. If you recall, there is a small child that says the exact same thing or similar to what Diogenes had said.
Yep, that was I can't
Euclid, some
Euclid.
yeah, I think it's
Euclides.
another mathematician, I think, or something.
But he was actually making mathematical equations on the ground.
yeah. Um, yeah. So I don't think, yeah, I don't think the three of us know enough about the philosophy to actually make sense of what they were going for with the Platyhedron. Maybe it made more sense in the novel series, because remember this anime is only like 13 episodes long. Um, yeah, for example, I think I would have liked to see more about Darius and what his connection with, if there was any, with Roxanne was. We didn't see much of Roxanne either, the woman that Alexander ends
You
up
barely
marrying.
see any woman in this anime.
Yeah,
Except for like Cassandra,
yeah.
Roxanne, and Olympia, or Olympias. I forgot her exact name. The anime. Th- Even then, like, what are their roles supposed to be?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Olympia just goes on about how her son is going to destroy the world.
I
Cassandra is,
guess there is something to say. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I just remembered, and we should probably talk about this now. There is contention between Alexander and his mother. If you recall, his mother, although she has a mother's love for Alexander, she hates him for apparently Alexander not loving her as a son should. Do you recall when she slaps him? I always thought it was kind of a weird event. I never really understood what is happening there.
it, it kind of seemed to me like she was angry that he wasn't like going and conquering the world or destroying the world enough or something. Um,
Well, and I think I don't know if it's this scene, but also the scene where he's curious about what happened. She's also slapped him and said, "You're not supposed to talk about this. We don't talk about this at all."
oh yeah, the sacrifice, human sacrifice ritual thing where like she met Philip II um, at on that island, the name of which I can't remember now. Um, yeah, uh, yeah. So I think I would have liked it to either be longer or it would have been fine, to be honest, if it ended. So there's a theatrical movie version of which is basically just a compilation movie, with a few scenes added in, but unfortunately, I have not been able to track it down. But it apparently ends at after Darius is defeated. I think that would have been a fine point to end it as well. Um, and yeah, I was talking about Cassandra. She's just there to be, I guess, Aristotle's eyes, and Aristotle is kind of brainwashing her with I don't know words written on on scrolls somehow. Also, Aristotle is building humanoid mechs. We don't see them do much, but they're used in battles somehow. Um, yeah, yeah. All the philosophers are kind of crazy and have odd powers, I guess. In
I
this,
mean, the first part is honestly pretty accurate to to history. If I'm going to be honest, philosophers, well, especially ancient philosophers, are at times a bit crazy. If I'm going to be honest.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I don't think Aristotle was one of the crazy ones, though. From what I've heard, he was more of a down to earth one. Um, or let's say relatively normal ones. Pythagoras, though, I think he did have like a cult.
Yes, he
Uh,
did. Yeah, I think it's like Pythagoras. It's kind of religion which is shown in the anime, although I don't think it included a ninja assassin, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. All I know is that it's all about like how the world is math basically maths or something. But yeah. Um, what did you think of Alexander's followers? Were they presented well, or you know,
Honestly, I don't really remember any of his friends except for like Ptolemy, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, Ptolemy.
Also, the architect of Alexandria isn't really his friend, but it was an excellent scene that I haven't really seen before, where like the main character is genuinely curious and inquisitive about what people think of him, and does not, you know, mm, does not immediately present himself as who he is. He doesn't like identify himself and just like wants to understand where people are coming from.
yeah. To
Because
be
like the architect is really waiting on Alexander, calling him an idiot or something like that.
yeah, yeah, and that leads to like I think to me like visually my favorite scenes, which are like so the architect like draws the plan for the city of Alexandria like on the ground, and Alexander somehow like gets hypnotized and goes into like a daydream about where he's like taken into the future after he's dead, and Ptolemy, what how we pronounce his name, um, uh, now runs Egypt basically, and I don't know how to even describe it, but it's like um, uh, kind of like a cyberpunk kind of futuristic city, and he has to like go down into the mausoleum, which is built so basically his own grave, which is like underground.
That was an
Uh,
awesome scene. Somehow um, a manifestation of his essence into like a projection into the future where he also meets people who are subjects of his empire. That's a very interesting. I haven't seen anything like that before, honestly. And his subjects are not other Greeks, but Persians, as they call themselves.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
I think
it's a
it's a mixture of
cosmopolitan.
like, well, what is in the known world. So a lot of people from all over the known world congregate to Alexandria.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I mean that is true basically, and also like he finds out that I guess his kind of success is going to be Ptolemy, but he doesn't seem to be bothered by it anyway. Yeah, other than Ptolemy, the other ones were kind of um, one note. I think they were like trying to discuss a bit about like what their motivation for following Alexander was in the first place, but I don't think that they reached any good conclusion for that. Other than I don't know, they were just drawn in by Alexander's charisma or something. Um, unless you guys remember something which I've forgotten. Uh,
Mm, well, I think one of the guys, I forgot his name, the guy with the spear, was memorized by Alexander for befriending a man-eating horse, and just went, "Wow, this guy is interesting." He managed to have a man-eating horse as a pet.
yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, Bucephalus, the horse. That is also straight from Alexandrian romance and legend. Uh,
Not, I don't think it was actually like a man-eating horse, though, was it? It was just a
well, it
impress.
is an insanely wild and strong horse that can be only tamed. It may as well be man-eating. I don't remember the exact mythology around Alexander. Uh, Greece does have like myths about kings and their man-eating horses. In fact, I think there was like a Thracian king who had like such horses who was noteworthy for fighting Heracles, but Heracles like defeated him and gave his body to his horses, and they stopped. And after they ate his flesh, they stopped being man-eating horses. But I don't
Yeah,
think this is what is referenced with Bucephalus, which is like an insane. It's like 3 or 4 times as large as a human being as we see on this GIF. Insane.
yeah. I think when the horse died, Alexander named a city after the horse, some in Pakistan. But it's long gone now. Um, okay. Uh, I don't know. I don't. I think it was neat watching this anime, but it's just a 7 out of 10 for me, to be honest.
Mm, I would say it's 7.5. I would say it's easily my top 10 anime for, I guess, the presentation, how it's the story's presented. I enjoyed quite a lot.
Wait, are we giving our scores right now? Uh, isn't it a bit too early? I think we can discuss many things about this anime.
Okay, then. Uh, you can be the. You can start. Give us an example. Then what else can we discuss?
Uh, well, you kind of put me on the spot here.
Um.
Well,
Oh,
well, let me think about it.
okay. Yeah, you can think of. I guess. Um. Yeah, I mean the presentation was fine, but I think that like the animation, like the art style was very good, but in some like I don't like the animation was like basically like TV anime quality. It wasn't like OVA quality. I think so. Um, yeah, but for example, like in the battle scenes, I think that there was some reused animation. I'm pretty sure. Um, uh, yeah,
Yeah,
I
but complaining about anime using reuse animation, then you would be complaining about 99% of all anime, to be fair.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like the visual presentation itself was not enough for me, but it's pretty short. It's just 13 episodes. Um, so I wasn't bored by it either. Um, yeah, I think maybe I think like my expectations were kind of a bit different from what it ended up to be because I watched the Anime Snobs review before actually watching the series, and he had a strange take. He was like, um, so I don't know, like I actually asked him whether. So I'm just going to read this. It's from his review. So he said that the ending is going to frustrate a lot of viewers since ends right before the final battle and leaves the outcome open to interpretation. I was yelling, "Where is the rest of it?" Even though I knew from history what will happen next. It was a messy way to wrap this clusterfuck of concepts, but thinking back at it, it's not that bad. Not being shown how it ends means you don't know how it ends. Therefore, following the theme of going against destiny and not knowing what happens next. Um, but
I
I
didn't
didn't
feel
really,
like. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I didn't really see the theme of going against destiny. At most, like Alexander was going against his misunderstanding about, or at least like other people's misunderstanding about what was going to happen if he continued, um, because because of the prophecy that the world was going to end. Um,
Yes,
so he kept on going.
obviously, Alexander, rather than just being a character, is also the entity that is the culmination of all the historical present up until that time. Well, not historical present, but all the historical ages of his contemporaneous time. Um, I guess you could call him like an explosive device that has to activate at a certain point. Uh, uh, and that explosion obviously isn't like a real explosion, as we keep recycling on and on, because this isn't really about fighting against destiny. I don't even understand like what the words fighting or going against destiny even mean. You can't, by definition, go against the destiny.
I think he was like, have you seen Escaflowne?
Of only the 8 episodes on Fox, the Fox version.
Okay. Maybe. So basically, like there's this machine, Nina Scafloni, which can
Yes.
like predict and determine the future. Um, and surprise, surprise again, it's not a philosopher, I guess. It's Newton, the scientist who ends up being the villain in Escaflowne. But
Well,
basically,
predicting the future is divination, but it's not like the reading of a future does not actually mean that the outcome that is seen in that vision or dream is the absolute outcome. It's not the same. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. Um, you can change the outcome, I guess, um, by knowing about it, in a sense, I guess. It's just the most likely outcome. But yeah, in that series, it turns out that the main characters kind of overcome, um, basically they overcome they become quote unquote authors of their destiny and overcome this machine-like thing, algorithm-like thing, which can predict the future through their love um, for each other or something big like that. It's been a while since I watched it, but yeah, yeah. I was wondering if maybe Snob watched the theatrical version, the movie version, which as I said, um, ends when after the fight with Darius. But no, uh, I asked him in the comments to his video, and he said no. So he watched the TV series. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know
and,
how he came to that conclusion.
and I didn't understand its conclusion of it's anti-fatalistic. It seems more the anime itself is very deterministic. The only thing is that they misinterpreted what they meant by one of the world. They thought it's going to be the apocalypse, but no, it's just the end of you know the I guess the old world and into a new sort of world, if that makes any sense.
This has something to do with mathematical precision and how these, um, I guess, wizards, we may call them, these cultists, perceive the mathematical results. Uh, in a way, it's kind of strange that Pythagoras and Zoroaster are kind of like combined. Um, it appears that the great sages of the axial age have like been, I guess, fused into one being that has like presented itself in different civilizations with like the ethnicity of the people living there. Um, I don't really I still don't really get like how can they misinterpret well, like it it looks to me like they were more like going against what their teacher was actually saying.
I'm
Also, let's talk about like the first episode, which is insane.
um I guess you mean the scene where Olympias is having how do I say this?
She's giving birth to
Yeah.
the destroyer of the world. Yeah,
And
with
there's some
Lycon. I guess the snake isn't actually mentioned, but I assume that is like an avatar of the god Glycon, which had a historic cult in like ancient or like Greek Macedonia. Olympia or Olympias is herself known to have been, or at least in myth, has been known to have slept with snakes. I'm not exactly sure what all of this means. I really wish Fox was here so that he could like explain all this like imagery.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that's
uh,
the main problem with this discussion is that we don't have much information on the whole background, which is why we're kind of picking out straws, trying out straws.
I mean, I'm trying like to figure out what Joseph Campbell has to say about these, these archetypes, but I honestly don't have a freaking clue, man. Um, of, I mean, it is kind of like a detriment to the anime that it doesn't really give a hint to what this might represent. Okay, why is it the snake? Obviously there very well may be, there probably is a real world cultural reason why the snake was chosen there. But in the like universal constraint of the anime, the lore based version, the canon version of the anime, how am I like supposed to understand the visual coding? It is a bit too difficult. The anime doesn't like expand much on its visual language so that I can, you know, understand the information. Does
yeah,
that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. And yeah, I feel like that's why a lot of people end up kind of disappointed um, by it. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, now that I think about it, the reason why people recommend Legend of the Galactic Heroes is because, like, again, you kind of have like a character there as well who's like trying to like rule the universe, or the world or something. Um, but that's really the only similarity. Um,
Obeying man, you have just shared a link with about the code of Dionysius.
Yep.
Dionysus, I mean.
I think that's part of the reason why the old snake thing, if I understand
Uh,
correctly.
Dionysus and the god Apollo are gods. Well, they're not twin gods, but they are gods that serve a function in Nietzschean philosophy. But I honestly have no idea how Nietzschean philosophy would connect with this anime outside of this being, Alexander's will to power, but it's not really so much a will to power as he just comes to accept that he has to come to power. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I
I like
suppose, yeah.
he doesn't really talk much about like his ambition, or why he wants to conquer the world. Um, Also, like I guess going back to the early episodes, did you guys feel like he was in on the assassination of his father, or
Yes, 100%. And in fact, in the actual historical documents, they did mention that either he or his mother was part of it. You could tell right away because when the actual ceremony happened and when he tried to save his father, what he intentionally did is he intentionally let the guy go. And even I forgot his name, the father of Gladius noticed it and right away, oh, I see what's going on.
But why would justice allow a son to murder his father, albeit by proxy?
Mm, well, always to do with the fact that, Al- that Alexander and I guess his mother kind of shared the whole to be the king of Macedonia.
But that doesn't explain why God would allow this to happen without, some sort of retribution. Even the famed Erinyes, or also known as the Furies, they do not do anything. Much of Greek myth is not actually present in this anime as like a substantive function. It's like the myths are already dead, and this is the man who just by being born killed them.
yeah. So I guess it's sort of like he's going to bring the age which comes after all the mythical supernatural stuff is gone. It's going to bring in the age of man or something by killing off what's left of the mythical. Um, Something like that. But again, I'm not like again like it's that's I feel like we are just like adding on interpretation onto the anime because again it's not really stated. Uh,
Well, some things are stated. For one thing, the universe or the cosmos are not just material. There is an immaterial element. Therefore, there is a driver or a great will that comes that not that it comes, but that it drives things forward. So perhaps everything else has been just left behind.
Perhaps. I guess. What did you make of Alexander's decision to like start going back west? I guess, or southwest, you could say, after he reached. But because like when he finally reaches India, it sort of like turns into like this weird battle where like they have to fight uh, the ghosts of the enemies that they have already defeated, and then Alexander meets Zoroaster, Pythagoras, or whatever. Um,
The
this
Brahmin priest that is
yeah
also Pythagoras and Zoroaster. Therefore, the Brahmin. I mean, they call him a Brahmin. I have a feeling they probably meant that he is the Buddha. Honestly.
I guess by the time of Alexander, did the
Buddhism
Buddha?
already existed, especially in the northern portion of the subcontinent, including in today's Pakistan, which is the actual India. As in, that is where the river is, which is the boundary of the known world, and so far as the Greeks had understood it until Alexander. Therefore, crossing this boundary is reaching past the end of the world, which is why the ghosts appear.
Mm,
There, it is an ethereal world now. It is a plane of existence that is, immaterial. It is the transition to something else, something that is about to come. And what comes is, basically the same world, but with a bit less boundaries, maybe.
mm.
Well, since Alexander still has to conquer stuff, there are more things to, overcome.
Yeah, and I guess we sort of like see we have already kind of seen the final outcome in the anime, which is the I guess a more cosmopolitan kind of world, um, which we see in Alexandria.
A side note, after Alexander conquers the known world, or that is, all the realms of the Persian Empire, you guys probably know that there were already Greeks in like Afghanistan, and they actually would form their own Greco-Aryan kingdoms in Afghanistan and parts of Pakistan. Uh, those places would actually contribute culturally to the larger Indic and even to the Cynic sphere. And they would also, this cultural influence, I mean, would reach Japan. How, you may ask? Well, it's because of the way they built sculptures, specifically Heracles. You have probably heard of the guardian deities Raijin and Fujin. Well, you have probably noticed that they're oddly more realistic in their like musculature than other Shinto deities are when depicted. That is again because of Hercules.
I've heard,
Hercules is transported and transformed into a very unique, uh, you know, uniquely Greek to a cross-cultural figure because of this conquest.
yeah, I've also heard that the way that they make Buddhist statues was also influenced because originally the Buddhists didn't
Absolutely.
they didn't make statues of the Buddha. It would just be like they would like show like an empty throne or like uh, something, which is also kind of cool to be honest. Um, um, but then they started to make statues like the Greeks do, I guess. Um, yeah. Um, okay, we already talked about. I guess I and Albania man already gave our ratings. Do you want to give your rating too, Beth?
I would like to give my rating, but I also want to comment on your ratings. The good student, you said you gave this anime just a 7, but a 7 is a very high score for me. I haven't really given that many anime a 7. Only like 100 or 120 or so anime have a 7 from my library of over 800 anime that I've watched. It's really closer to over 900 anime that I've watched. So I'm surprised that you would only give it a 7, especially concerning the subject matter which is eschatologic, immaterial, transcendent, great man, and mythic, which is all the things you can actually find even in anime like Evangelion, which we all love. Well, Albanian man doesn't like Evangelion, but that's besides the point. Can you expand upon your reasons?
Oh, okay. I guess I found the characters a bit lacking. Um, yeah, as you said, like the themes might be grand, but um, I don't know. Like when maybe like when it comes to stories, um, I kind of like to try to judge them as stories. Whereas here, like, there's a lot of things like going on visually, and all that. But I don't know.
Can I
Like,
ask you something?
yes.
Why did you pick this GIF?
Why not? Well, it's well. I guess it uh because I think like this anime kind of I like I don't know much about Alexander, but um I think it gets the vibe right for what the popular um idea of what Alexander is like or looks like.
So you pick this GIF because it already tells a story which you can easily, just by visually accessing it, digest with your mind.
Um,
Is that not correct?
I think it might be correct, but I think like the part
You
of
don't
like
even need to know that this is Alexander and Bucephalus. You already know that this is a man who is about to bring change into the world. And it's like the heavens themselves know this.
yeah, but like I don't know, like you could also like have like a good story, great dialogue. Um, like for
Well, what do
example,
you have a problem with the dialogue?
uh, I mean the
Are there any
characters.
phrases that strike you as unnatural, as
I
you
mean
know?
earlier we discussed how like the the only justification for you know um they they're kind of vague about why they're um following Alexander. There's
Well,
no
they're
like
best friends since childhood.
yeah
That is his
but
inner circle, and they are
yeah it
all excellent warriors and all kingly material. So
um
they understand each other on an intimate level.
the conversation are just not that interesting really. The battles again, the tactics are not there.
Yeah,
um
there basically aren't any tactics. They win just because Alexander is there and because they have to win.
yeah it's
But is that bad? Is that unnecessary? Is that fodder? Is that fury?
I don't know, it kind of feels like this would also just work as a music video at that point. And
Well, that only adds to the quality of this anime, if you ask me. If you can just tell things by strong audio stimuli like songs or like a wicked soundtrack, and only with what is happening, well, doesn't that actually mean that it's better than average? I mean, you already think it is better than average.
yeah,
That's
it
why
is
you
better than average. Yeah,
that's why you give it a 7.
yeah, it is better than average.
Uh,
Yeah,
but my meaning
it's not an
is
eight. It's not an 8
uh,
out of 10 though.
the it's like the uh, what would the strategic complexity add to the anime when the purpose is very simple. Alexander has to destroy the world, and because of mathematical encumbrances, but because of disagreeing mathematical equations by some other groups, they try to stop him from doing so.
Yeah, I think there could be like more interesting motivations for the characters to stop him rather than just a misunderstanding. Um,
But this is the thing, misunderstanding is everything. If the differences are subtle, how you understand those differences means everything. Apparently, the disciples of Pythagoras didn't understand anything.
yeah, but on
So,
the other
so they
hand,
were
like
lost.
there's no reason for like Alexander to believe that that he wasn't going to destroy the world, but he still just goes along with it. There's he doesn't have that many doubts about. Um,
Well, how can he doubt anything? He is a king. He must have, the ability to render accurate and specific judgment.
no, I think it's more like a coin flip. Like
What do you mean?
it's more like if you think about it logically, um, the the prophecy is either true or not, and but they live in a world where like people take those prophecies seriously, and yet um, Alexander decides to bet on you know that he's not actually just going to destroy everything, and that there's going
So
to be
what does that
something at
mean?
the end.
Does that not does that not add to his character?
I say all these things, but it's not like explicitly shown. And this is just like my headcanon to make sense of what I saw. So I don't know, like you can say that my headcanon adds to the character, but again, it's not made clear
Yes, you're
very
saying
well.
that because you're trying to interpret the visual information without dedicated sourced statements from the anime itself, you cannot be certain that this is what it is meant. But maybe that is not even the point of the anime.
But how do you know that it's not what the exactly like we don't like again like this is a cool picture and of what Alexander is like. But like there's many other cool characters like this one in I don't know
And
in
you
anime like
actually
Hokuto
said,
no Ken. Yeah,
that this picture is cool. It is cool by itself, but it is also cool because it is an omnosis of what people understand Alexander the Great to be.
I think the problem is um it's the same that I have with Fate sometimes is that um like you can't like use it have like historical characters in and I don't know like e- expect people to see characterization which is not here in the anime, but it's just you should just assume that it's there because uh, of the um, things outside of the text. Um, you can't. I mean, you can try to piggyback on it, and it seems to have worked on a lot of people, but it doesn't seem to work on me, at least.
You do not
Um,
believe in the meta prospects of work such as this or something like that. Is that what you said?
what do you mean by meta prospects?
Well, the possibility of additional information that adds to the work rather than just deciding that it's all interpretive. Personally, I think interpretations are built into like the into a project such as this, like Alexander Senki. But yeah, you need to have like the cool. well, I shudder to say correct information, but the needed information around Alexander's life, the life of his disciples, basically the history of the Hellenistic world, in order to create a possible interpretation that makes sense for the era that is uniquely depicted in the anime, and that somehow, passes logical judgment for a narrative work. That said, that is a very tall order, and I understand why a 7 is the only, uh, is like the highest mark. I Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, are you saying that like with additional background, like the score would go up or something?
It is certain that what do you mean scope? Oh no, you mean score? Well,
Yeah.
certainly, if you have even more information for a work such as this, you can attribute more things to what is actually happening. Therefore, it would expand like the the cosmos of the anime. The the narrative work will have like more. Um, Basically, this information will allow you to interpret the work in such a way that it would at least appear more logically sound and complicated, but understandable at the same time.
Yeah, but I think like without the actual information, it's just like we we are just assuming. We don't really know. Whether
Yes,
it would actually.
but isn't like any work based on assumptions? Like when you consume another mythic work like Star Wars, you already assume certain things about it. You assume that when they are on a terrestrial planet, the laws of physics on that planet will function similar to that of our world. You already
No,
assume certain things about
I'm not
God,
sure. I'm
etc.
not. Yeah, I'm not talking about those kind of assumptions. I'm talking about um. So like
Yes, but yes, I
you're
understand what you mean. But
you're talking about
what
the
I'm
kind.
trying to say, yes, I understand. You're not just talking about the physical properties of a place and how people and entities will react to those properties. You're talking about mythic world building, etc. Things like that. Reasons and laws of how the world functions. That is what you're talking about. But it is the same.
Yeah, I don't know what we are talking about now.
Okay,
But
well, perhaps I'm not speaking coherently. I'm sorry. Well, Albanian man, you said you'd rate this anime highly. I think you said a 7.5 out of 10 and one of the best anime you've seen or something.
Yeah.
Could you expand upon that? Expound.
Well, well, actually, now that I think about it, I'm gonna stick with an 8, honestly. I would say part of the reason why I wouldn't give it, I don't know what 10 is. I don't know. it it feels more like a 8, mainly because uh, I guess because I don't have much information on the background. I can't really appreciate fully the anime. I just
Well, okay, so this is very interesting because uh, student gave it a 7 because the anime requires more background information to understand the
no,
anime.
I'm
Albanian man. Okay,
I,
okay. What did you say then?
I mean I like I'm saying that we don't know whether like if we had more background information, then we would like give it a higher score or not, because we don't have that information. Once if and when we have that information, we can talk about um because again like this is not even like um they're not going for like even a historical accurate um kind of view. So and anyway, like
Well, I
I
would
don't
argue.
think, yeah.
Oh, go on.
Um, yeah, I don't know, like it's just that I don't know, like I don't feel like even if if we understood this any better, um, w- that if we understood the themes of this any better, that I would necessarily give it a higher score, really.
You're
Um,
saying that the anime is so transformative of the real historical events and mythos that any possible additional information we may obtain, it will still be too vague to ascertain the true meaning of the intention of the anime. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it depends on what the information is. We won't know until we have the information. Whether we can apply to
Which
this.
we have no way of determining what is the correct information.
We can determine whether it's correct or not once we look at the information. Without looking at it, we can't really say.
But no, I'm saying is we don't even know what is the correct information we need so that we can successfully dissect the anime.
I guess the information that we would need um, would be. Yeah, let me ask you, what do you think the information that we would need would be then to give it an accurate score?
I suppose the first thing would be knowledge of mythic cycles, mythology in general, anthropological knowledge based on ancient myths, legends, purposes, as in like covenants between gods and mortals, covenants between lords and men, the purpose of laws. So you need to understand why something is justified, why something needs to happen. Laws, not just in the political sense, not just in an ethical sense, but mathematical laws as a function of God's intention. So you would also need some sort of theological information because this is ultimately a story about an eschatological event, the coming of the end times. But uh, the end times do not necessarily have to end with humanity's end. The end times come, but humanity is preserved. Why does this happen? Etc. Etc. And that's on the top of my head. So a wide range of knowledge regarding theology, philosophy, politics, I guess, mythic, mythic information, mythology. Oh no, I already said that. I think, etc.
Well, I would also add the reading and having knowledge of Aristotelian and Plato's philosophy, because this anime does not necessarily delves deep, but it does have references to Plato and Aristotle's philosophy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like, yeah, it does have like references to that, to a lot of things, but um, I don't know how well integrated it all is. If we can't like say what the point of the Plato Hedron was, and other stuff was,
Indeed,
we
basically, we will
just
have
watched
to
in
be
the anime.
scholars. Yes, indeed, you're right. We basically will have to be scholars only to determine afterwards that uh, if any of these things mean anything. Uh, so this is definitely a negative of the anime. We don't have to be scholars to such an extent in order to grasp the narrative, to grasp like the what is meant in the end of the story.
Yeah, I feel like it's a failing in terms of storytelling technique, basically. Um, and I would hold it against it. But there's still like some superficially enjoyable things, like this picture, for example, which could be from this anime, or it could be from I don't know, Hokuto no Ken or something else, and the unusual graphics, but um, yeah. So why am I getting so many messages?
Interesting that you keep bringing up Hokuto no Ken. Well, I mean, I guess you only brought it like twice, but in Hokuto no Ken, the end times also happened, and humanity is still alive. That's an interesting parallel.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I'm not sure whether like the end times happened here really at all. Um, this it's kind of like um, it's more of a metaphorical end time, like a revolution. But I guess like there's a lot of stories about like, I guess if you look at it from the perspective of the enemies of Alexander, uh, you know, their age has come to an end, so it's kind of an apocalypse for them. Um, but life still goes on, which is I guess a pretty Japanese kind of thing, because they have a lot of natural disasters there.
Well, it's not only that, it's the whole, like, well, I would argue since the atomic bomb, it's kind of been shaping industry, shaping the ideological way the Japanese think.
Yeah, 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 and so I don't really have anything else to discuss other than giving this show a score, to be honest.
My rating for this anime is a 7, which so far I think has been like the highest rated anime since I've been like on the show. uh,
Yeah. I mean,
Honestly, I love this anime. It's wicked sick. I wish I understood more of it, but as I am now, I'm just not I'm not eligible enough to deconstruct it fully. That's why I wished we had a more senior member who knows how to handle complex stories like this, like Chiasmo or Fox. But what I can say about this anime is that it contains elements that I have seen in basically no other anime, especially the main character seeing his tomb, which is very mythic. Although to be honest, I don't really think there is such a myth about Alexander, nor are there many myths where a hero or a king uh, has uh, has like a vision where he is like in the future where he has been deceased for a while now. So he a myth where the hero notices the changes he has done after he has passed away, which is which is strange, you know.
yeah, yeah, I think it's my favorite scene um in the anime as well. It's just a pity that we don't really see him much reaction from him. It
Well,
does
he
like
is
it.
an absolute stoic, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think that's like how the actual Alexander was. Sorry for cutting you off again. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, but I think we have already discussed most of what we can discuss about this anime.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
yeah. So with that said, I guess I'll end the discussion uh, right now.